Hello, Claire.
Hi, Wendy.
So today, my name is Wendy, and I am so happy to be talking to my friend Claire of about 10 years we just talked about.
Hmm.
And we play together all the time doing interesting things. And today I'm really excited to kind of highlight a project that Claire's playing with right now.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you for doing that.
Yeah. So Claire, before we start,
Mhm.
you want to just tell us just a little bit about your background in theater?
Sure. I started out as a director, actually. Took an MFA in directing at UBC and then wound up marrying a director. So one in the family was quite enough. And I spent about a decade on stage acting at his theater. And then when child number two came along, it was a little hard to do 8 shows a week. So I
Yeah.
have now morphed into a playwright, and as a playwright, I draw on all that experience, of acting and directing.
Mhm. And now you're producing.
I'm afraid so. Yeah, that is how it's worked out.
Hmm. So
Yeah.
last year, was that your first official producing last year, a year ago?
Last year, I didn't actually produce that show. It's a show that I wrote, but it was done as an equity member co-op, so the actors themselves produced it.
Neat.
And
Okay.
that was
This
also,
year.
yeah, that was at the same theater, which is 12th Avenue Arts in Seattle.
And what's the difference? What are you doing this year? You weren't
This
doing.
year, we have a full. Well, we're paying our equity actors rather than them having to produce the show themselves. We have a larger cast. We have a cast of five, and um, that's the main difference. Is that this is our little company providing the designers and the production team and the marketing and everything
Mhm.
that goes with it.
Awesome. So
Yeah,
I want to get back to the that nuts and bolts, but I want to get to the what I feel excited about this
yeah,
show. If that's
yeah,
okay.
absolutely.
Um, and that is, let's just start with um, the reason behind the show. I understand you kind of wanted to highlight Arnie's passion and his genius.
Hmm.
Talk about that, Arnie being your husband.
Yes, Arne Zaslove, theater brilliant maven. I've been inspired by him for decades, and in particular by his theatrical imagination. So his shows are very physical, they're very imaginative, they're very lively. And I was wanting to write an Arnie show, you know. I wanted to write a show that would foreground all of the things that he does so well that are, relatively rare in the theater these days.
Hmm.
There are a lot of plays out there that are very realistic and very kind of, a lot of money on the set, just people talking to each other. He has this flair and again, I'll say again, theatrical imagination that I really wanted to learn from as a playwright and to put on the stage. So this has finally come to fruition. It's been quite a bit of a journey. Um, but yeah, it's not a play that looks like it doesn't look like a movie. I can say that much. The set is made out of crates and sheets um and it's five actors playing. I haven't even counted how many roles, but it's that kind of thing where somebody puts on a scarf and there's someone else, or somebody
Yeah,
takes off a hat and there's someone else. So that's a lot of fun to play with.
cool. And maybe this was more popular back in the day. I understand Arnie did a training with important people around
Right.
physical and puppets and masks. Do you want to say anything?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, he had a great apprenticeship with Carlo Mazzoni Clementi, who was a master of commedia dell'arte. um, and Arnie he's got away with a physical gag. um, and he also studied at École Jacques Lecoq. So this production, as I said, we make no bones about the fact that this is theatrical storytelling. We've got puppets, we've got masks, we've got, actors moving crates to create the set.
That's so cool. And I don't know if you know this, but my favorite is physical comedy.
Oh, cool.
Oh, I love physical comedy.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, so
Oh, I wish you could
that's
come. Yeah.
yeah. Um, so and then you came with this idea of I want to highlight this kind of theater,
Hmm.
this kind of way of doing it.
Hmm.
Then you took like two stories and you made
Yeah. So the play, I guess I should mention, it's called Rip, A Winkle in Time. So it's basically a mashup of the Rip Van Winkle story with the tales of the Yukon Gold Rush. So in the original story, Rip Van Winkle goes up into the mountains. He encounters the ghosts of Henry Hudson's crew, and he does that thing you're not supposed to do with ghosts, and that is he drinks from what they're drinking and falls asleep for 20 years. So that's the original story. So in my story, he goes up into the Yukon, and instead of encountering Henry Hudson's crew, he encounters Lord Franklin's crew. And this is Lord Franklin's expedition in the 1850s. They were trying to find the Northwest Passage, and they wound up instead locked in the ice for 2 years
yes.
and perished.
Yeah.
A rather horrible, rather
Yeah.
horrible end. So my Rip drinks with them, and instead of falling asleep for 20 years, he falls into a snowbank and freezes for about 130 years, 128 years. And then with global warming, this snowbank melts, and he comes back down to the town that he left, and it looks exactly the same because it's been preserved as a gold rush town for tourists.
Oh, funny.
So he has this incredible confusion because, and they're making a movie in the tavern that he used to frequent. So they're dressed in gold rush costumes, but they're contemporary people.
Oh my God.
So that's where the clash comes in, and I have a lot of fun with it because I was really intrigued by. I'm very interested in manners, and I just love the idea of this rough-looking prospector coming into our world, but having perfect manners and 19th century speech.
Oh,
So it's fun to play with that. So
right.
yeah.
Claire, that is fascinating. Could can you even give us a glimpse of how you got this mashup idea? Like,
I,
what's the,
honestly, I wish I could remember. I wrote the one-page proposal for it in February 2012. So it is 13 years ago, but I think that was the seed, was imagining how different manners were at the time and wanting to see, that clash between, like I said, a grubby looking prospector, but he knows how to kiss a lady's hand and offer her a seat. And,
right?
there's a
And no one
there's a
else
fun
stops.
there's a fun little moment. I mean, she's dressed in this, satin va va voom kind of, gold rush, um, our Hollywood version of a gold rush. And I don't think I'm giving too much away when I say that there's a moment where he catches sight of her ankle under her skirts and decides he must withdraw the scene because this impropriety is, so
Wow.
we have fun with that kind of stuff.
Yes.
And we have a very large husky puppet who is he's actually listed on the list of characters. Wolf playing himself. He was made by a wonderful puppet maker in Vancouver, Dusty Hagerud. He has a company called Color Sound Lab, and he made this beautifully expressive puppet, which actually its ears move, and it can it can growl. So that's one of the two puppets that we use in the show.
Everything that you said, it's so magical. Like the idea is magical, and how you're bringing it to light is magical.
Thank
And
you.
um, in maybe this time, but in the past, you've talked to me about the magic of theater.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Um, and like, can we tie that like with why bother to go to the theater? I mean, we have Netflix,
Sure.
right? Like, can you
Mm-hmm,
speak to this? Because I
mm-hmm,
really, I don't get it. Like, I've been to the theater, whatever.
mm-hmm,
Really, honestly, like it's fine, but
mm-hmm,
I'm not like over the moon about it. But in my talks with you, I'm
mm-hmm.
really enrolled in this show, which is why we're having this conversation. So please talk about
That's great.
magic and
Yeah,
theater.
yeah. Well, coming out of the pandemic, we all sat at home, streaming great stuff, really, really great stuff. But, we could all have a private experience of, I don't know, you could watch Mission Impossible and you watch cars getting blown up and people falling off cliffs. And
Yeah.
it's, um, it's very different from the experience of being in a room with people. And after the pandemic, people were very reluctant to go back to the theater and be in a public place together. But that's gone now. I go to shows and they're full because I think people were hungry to be in community again, sitting in a room and basically saying, "Okay, tell me a story." And actually, this my story, the Rip, um, opens with the man in the moon. He's hanging out in a tavern that he goes to when the sun is up, and complaining about the fact that it's lonely up there in the sky, and he's bored. He says, "No company, no, waxing and waning, no company at all, except the occasional asteroid happening by." So he says to the other people in the tavern, like, "Tell me a story." And that's how we began. There's a little competition between the people who want to advocate for the Rip story and the people who want to advocate for, the Call of the Wild, the Jack London story. And he
Mm.
says, "Well, see what you can come up with." So we have,
Oh, I see. It's like improv. Here, give me a few different things and we're
right.
gonna make,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
how it begins. So for me, like I said, we make no bones about the fact that this is storytelling. It's we're telling you a story. We're bringing out puppets. We're we're going back and forth in time, and it's just a very different experience from the film experience. Which is nothing to. I don't want to
Yeah,
take
part of
anything
it.
away from those incredible
Yeah.
shows, but
Yeah.
yeah.
So there's so it's all story, right? All this,
Mhm,
all everything is all this, it's all story,
mhm,
but this is more story because you're not putting so much attention on blowing things up and
right.
stuff. So
It.
so it's just deep storytelling, which is such a core human need, drive,
Mhm, mhm,
capacity.
mhm, mhm. In many ways, it's a story about storytelling.
Mm.
Um, and I, probably shouldn't say any more about that but it is a theme that goes through the play. Is about whose story is this, and who gets to tell their story and how they tell it. So yeah, and I think it is a core human need, um, and I
Hmm.
think narrative is a core human archetype.
Yes,
So
I agree.
yeah.
Um, and then also, the thing I notice about theater, the one thing I've noticed
Mm-hmm,
usually bring me is yes, the community, yes, the shared experience, yes,
mm-hmm,
the way the emotions like wave through the crowd, and
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
we have a shared experience just like with sports or with
mm-hmm,
the other day I was helping, a tree came out and the neighbors, the tree hit lightning and all the neighbors came and we worked together, right? There's that core
mm-hmm,
human need of
mm-hmm,
together. So I see that. And what I also notice is the energy. There's an
mm-hmm,
energy that gets built, that vibes,
mm-hmm.
that is something that a lot of people have trouble generating on their own.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's well put. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's a good part.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you're playing with that energy in all kinds of directions. Like there's
Hmm.
probably insight and there's probably ups and downs and
Hmm.
there's humor. So
Hmm.
you're dancing in that energy with people.
One of
It's
the actresses said, and I just love this. She said, "I love the fact that this show goes from a deep, serious moment and then flips into Keystone Cops." So,
it's great for us also to release
hmm,
that upset, like,
hmm,
oh, it's
yeah,
fun.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Awesome. So, I guess I'm going to get back to nuts and bolts now.
Sure.
Um,
Okay.
so another thing you've mentioned is like this so you have a great cast, and
Hmm.
also you have all these seasoned professionals that have worked with you and Arnie for a long time
Hmm.
that are like, go ahead, you tell.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, decades. And, we, some of them were kind of like not doing theater so much anymore, or not, or, one of them has a great university job and doesn't have to, you know,
Mhm.
and she was
Yeah,
like, oh, hell, I like this play. Sign me up. And she's
yeah,
been wonderful. So our costume designer, our composer, our lighting designer are all, um, longtime friends and collaborators, and seasoned is a good word. They know what they're about.
yes,
The set designer, also long time collaborator. Arnie messed with his set so much that he finally asked to be credited as a scenic consultant, because he designed this beautiful set for us, and then Arnie was like, "Yeah, I just think I'm gonna use 7 crates and move them around." And
right.
but
Simple.
yeah, yeah. But he has created a beautiful visual effect for us for the end of the show. So
Nice.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is a big treat. And you used to have like a big theater company that was
Mm-hmm.
ongoing, right,
Mm-hmm.
for a
Mm-hmm.
long time.
Mm-hmm.
And you all also came out of something like retirement to start to bring shows to Seattle.
Yes, and although in our case I wouldn't call it retirement, I'd call it unemployment, because it's not that Arnie or I ever consciously retired. It's just that when you have a theater company and you've got a budget, you have momentum.
Yeah.
So, we were producing 5 shows a year, and you've got a staff that's just like, okay, we got this one up, now let's move on to the next one.
Yeah.
But when you don't have that, um, machine,
Yes.
then each one is a big lift.
Yes.
And I know several people in town who have a theater company, but they can only do one show a year. And you can just, I mean, from behind the scenes, I can feel the kind of, you
Yeah.
know because you're making it up each time.
Yes.
So
Yeah. Yeah, you're not being carried forward by that momentum. From
yeah.
the inside is also the outside, the people who are used to coming regularly,
Hmm.
or used to promoting you regularly, all that stuff
Hmm.
kind of waxes and wanes.
Yeah. Or I mean, we used to survive on subscriptions, and of course you can't
Mm.
subscribe to one show a year. So
Right.
it's in a weird way, it's much easier to do 5 shows a year than it is to do one.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah.
But for now, the picture is you'll be doing one a year going forward, so people
Right.
can start to look forward to it.
Yes, we have, thank God, the wonderful men who run the 12th Avenue Arts, Theater, up on Capitol Hill. Apparently, we didn't annoy them last year, so they invited us back.
Awesome.
And I believe going forward that we'll have our annual January residence at 12th Avenue Arts. So it helps a little bit that people know, oh yeah, aren't they usually at.
Yes.
So
Yes, it does.
mhm,
That we do very well with same time next,
mhm. Same
you
time
know,
next year, right?
same bat
Exactly. Yeah.
time, same bat channel.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking
Mhm.
of which, give us
Mhm.
the deets.
Okay,
Where, when,
so
how? Yeah.
Rip, A Winkle in Time. It opens at 12th Avenue Arts, um, studio theater. They have a main stage and a studio. We're in the studio. It's on Capitol Hill. Um, Parking is a nightmare, but it can be done. We open Friday. So January 10th, Friday, 7:30 in the evening. We run Thursday, Friday, Saturday evenings, and Sunday matinees. Um, we close on February 8th, which is a Saturday evening. No Sunday matinee because we have to strike the set. And if anybody wants tickets, and I hope you do, the place to go is our website, not 12th Avenue, because they're not handling tickets for us. So www.globalworksproductions.com, or just show up at the theater.
We'll find you a seat. But
Exactly.
not opening night. I hear
Not
it's
opening night. Opening
already
night, it's
full.
pretty full.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Any final things to say, Claire?
No, I really appreciate you taking the time, to chat about it, and the fact that, like you said, you're enrolled in this production. I hope it's every bit as intriguing and magical as you know are anticipating. So
Yes.
yeah.
Okay.